Hola, mi gente. Joe Barreto back with you at the Credit Card Connection. I'm so glad you can join me. So, for the past couple of weeks, I've been making the rounds, going to different banks to find out information on credit and finance and to get some answers to some of your questions. So far, so good. The interactions have been great. And actually, I've suggested to all of you that if you had any questions or concerns, you should go to your local Chase or Wells branches, especially after I've witnessed them, dealing with their customers, being super professional, being very accommodating. And I like their interactions. So when I was getting ready to go to the next bank, which you're going to find out in a second, I was expecting, hey, let's keep this streak going. Let's see if this continues. But sadly, my friends, that streak has come to a very hard end. And now it seems that I cannot recommend that you go in person to your local Capital One branch for anything other than to deposit money or to pay a bill because that's all they do in person. Unfortunately, that's it. But before I go into that, into any other details, and I have a lot of notes here that I took, um, do me a favor, hit that like and subscribe button. I'm about 100 people away from hitting 3,000 subscribers. I'm getting there, mi gente. Do me a favor, hit that like and subscribe and share so that I can reach that mark and continue to bring out this information to you. So let's jump into it, and I thank you in advance. So, a subscriber and friend of the channel, Keith, asked me a couple of weeks ago when he saw that I was going into the other branches. He said, Joe, could you just walk down to the local Capital One branch and ask them why is it that I can only get a Saver One card? I laughed when he asked me that because, to be honest with you guys, and you guys know because I've had other videos posted on this, I've only been approved or pre-approved for a platinum secured card from Capital One. Okay, so I decided, okay, I'm not gonna walk because it's not that close, but I drove to a local branch in Lodi, New Jersey, to see if I can get some answers to these questions and maybe somebody can help me navigate what's going on. Because online there's not really much there under the other than their pre-approval tool. Okay. So when I went into the Lodi branch, the first thing, and I have it here because it blew my mind, that I was taken aback at just how dark the place was. When I walked in, you see immediately the four tellers there, right? And to the left was, and I'll post a picture, were two offices that were roped off and dark and closed. So I thought that that's where business would be conducted, but you're going to see shortly what really is the case. So, I had that cold feeling going in. I go to the first teller. She calls me over to the window. I asked to speak to a branch manager. She says, no, the branch manager is not here. They're not here all the time. We have two locations, one in Fort Lee. He's probably over there. I said, okay, great. Is there an assistant manager that I can speak with? She goes, no, we don't have one. I said, okay. Then she goes, well, what is this about? So I said, well, you know, I want to just ask questions about, opening up a new account. I don't have a checking or savings here, but I want to open up a credit card account. So she said, unfortunately, we can't do that for you in branch. We're all branch, as what she called it, branch ambassadors. So we're here to answer your questions regarding, what we do here in house. And I said, okay, so what's that? So she just said they do savings and checking accounts, and that you could pay your bills or make deposits there. And that's about it. That's what a branch ambassador does. Okay, so I'm looking here at my notes just to make sure I'm not missing anything here. So she said, what you could do is go online or call them on the phone. And I said, well, can you guys at least walk me through it or show me? She goes, no. She goes, unfortunately, it's either online or calling them. And then she literally said, next. And I didn't even finish speaking to her. And she called the next person up to the window to take my place, I guess, and she can service them. So I walked out. I wasn't thrilled. I said, you know what? She didn't even give me a chance to explain. I left. So I said, I should have just gone to the first branch that I thought of, which is a bigger branch that I see on Route 17 North in Paramus. So I drove to the Paramus location right after. It's a lot prettier, a lot brighter, a lot bigger branch. I go inside And I noticed, again, the tellers or ambassadors at the window. There's a few ATM machines inside the first door and then another one inside the actual bank. What I noticed immediately was that the offices were closed, the lights were off, and there were two cubby like offices to the right, and there was nobody sitting down there or manning them at all. But the good thing was that there were two people speaking. One of them was a young lady who is one of the branch ambassadors, and her name was Arlene. And she was kind enough and nice enough to walk over to me and ask me if there was anything that I needed. So, you know, she was very personable, very professional, and she was very cool in explaining to me how the branch works. She said there was no branch manager on site. And I said, well, does your branch manager work for the one in Lodi? She goes, no, we're separate. I said, okay. So just in case, I told her I wouldn't flash her name up, the full name, but this was her card when we met. And she said that as branch ambassadors, they basically do checking and savings in house, and they can help you navigate a credit application online, but you can't use the bank computers to do it. You have to do it on your own device. So I was like, wait a minute. So she goes, yeah, you have to take out your own phone. I could walk you through it. Even though they had a pad, they had like an iPad there in front of me that they were scrolling up and down and showing me how I could do a pre approval, online. But you can't use their devices, which is really sort of weird to me. She also said that they really don't have any other information other than what's found online. So that threw me. I'm like, wait a minute. So then why bother to come to a branch if you're just right now telling me exactly what Lodi told me, but in a much nicer way, in a much more professional way, that the information you're going to get here is limited to just checking and savings, and that's it. Chase and Wells, I was able to apply for stuff. I was able to find out about different products and things like that, different types of loans. Nothing like that here. Nothing. So she explained to me that about 5 years ago, she said the credit and loans part of it was sort of separated from the branch, from in house or in branch work. So I said, okay. She says, yeah. So they do that part and they dictate that part, and we're really not given a lot of detailed information on that other than what we're showing you here online. So again, I guess going in, I knew as much as they did on their cards or their products or services there because they don't really deal with that on a day-to-day basis. And I guess Capital One prefers it that way because everybody's saying go online or call. So, when I showed them, actually what threw her was I went on the comments from my channel and I showed her Keith and what Keith wrote and his comment about me going down to Capital One to find out why he couldn't get a Saver One. She was shocked that I showed her that because I said, look, I'm not making this up. I'm here for these reasons. I'm here to find out information so I could bring it back, to my subscribers and to my friends and stuff that always want to inquire about Capital One. And really, they don't really get much help online, especially those that are native speakers in Spanish. It's difficult to navigate. Then I showed her literally live on the FICO app my FICO score as of last Thursday's date, which was the 22nd, February 22nd, and it said 835, which I will put up on the screen, 835. And she goes, well, why don't you apply for the Venture X? I said, you don't think I tried? I said, I only get the platinum secured card. She goes, how could that be? I said, that's why I came here to ask you. I don't know how that can be. I said, I don't know what else to do. The last inquiry I got was last April for Capital One for an auto loan where you guys hit my credit 3 times. So, you know, she was even shocked when I said that because she didn't think that that was the case. She also says something that I found just odd when it comes to banking, because you would think that a banking relationship let's say you have a banking relationship with Chase, that's where you deposit your checks, that's where you cash your checks, or you've had banking forever, or Citibank, or Wells. You have a banking relationships. You would think that that's going to help you in trying to get other products from that particular bank or be eligible for certain perks or certain other things if you have that relationship. This is her words, and I'm going to read it off as she said right here. And I even wrote brutally honest about the information. She said, having a long time banking relationship does not affect the credit card or any products during the application process. I was like, then what's the point? Really, what is the point to have a relationship with a bank or an institution if it's not going to affect any of the other parts that you might want to use later on for a business, even? So she said that when I asked her, I said, well, one of the reasons why I also came in was because a lot of people have complained that when they apply for certain products, a Quicksilver, let's say, or Saver One, and they have a 710 or a 720 credit score, they only get the Saver One for fair credit or whatever that is now, and their interest rate is hovering about 30%. And she literally said that for most of the customers that she gets, and she sees their accounts, that their interest rate is 29% for the Saver One. Again, brutally honest, very kind and upfront. But, you know, when I'm hearing this, I'm like, wait a minute, but then what are you providing the customers? What are you providing the people coming in here to do their banking and to try to get their needs met in terms of other products? So, again, she said, are you sure you don't want to apply for the Venture X? I said, no. I said, on top of that, the Venture X is losing one of their statuses with Hertz at the end of the year. And her and her partner that were there were like, what are you talking about? I said, yeah, their car rental agreement with Hertz looks like it's going to run out by the end of the year. They had to look it up on their phones as I'm talking to them. And then they kind of jokingly alluded to that, well, you kind of know more about this than we do, which is my point to this video. Going in person just threw me. Like, I didn't get any help, any insight, nothing whatsoever. And this is me knowing more because I've just been studying, reading, doing this, and being better prepared. So imagine somebody coming in that has no idea what they're in for, and this is what they're faced. And I'm not blaming Arlene or the workers there. This is how Capital One has it set up, that they're only really there for savings and checking, and that's about it. Anything else, good luck. So, you know, what this showed me was that besides her being really honest, that the branch offices are a separate entity from that of their credit applications or loan applications side. Um, you know, it was telling that two different branches at two different parts in New Jersey were exactly the same setup. No one there, no branch manager on site, no office work going on because the offices were literally dark and locked up and closed. And the only thing that was personal banking were the people at the teller, at the windows. And that was the only personal banking you were getting. It wasn't anything else. It was all I saw was people streaming in and out. That's it. There was no real conversations going on about anything other than let's pay this bill, let's do that. And they were basically regulars because they kind of called them by name, which was cool. But that's about it. Now, what does this all tell me? Given the news last week that Capital One, wants to merge with Discover, now it makes sense. And probably not for the reason that people think. It's not the credit card side alone. It's actually, I'm wondering if they want to just pick up Discover because of their excellent customer service and that they're going to benefit from learning how to have excellent customer service and deal with people and their problems. Where with Discover, I've never had to say, can I speak to your manager, an assistant manager, or supervisor? The person there at the other end is knowledgeable and is willing to help and goes out of their way. So I'm guessing they also are going to really pile on Discover to get their excellent customer service under their belt and maybe learn and push that out amongst their branches. Because to be honest with you, it was sad going to Capital One. So I tell you this, guys, because I don't want you to go in there and be frustrated and get upset and say, why did I bother? Joe told me to go to my local branch to find out. And I'm telling you, mi gente, that for don't go into that branch for anything other than checking or savings to pay the bill, to deposit a check, because I told Arlene literally that I was going to post this. She took my information, she has the channel and everything else. And I told her, I said, I just finished telling people to go to Chase and Wells in person, and I was hoping I'd be able to say the same thing here at Capital One. I said, unfortunately, I can see that Capital One, the higher ups keep that information to themselves, and they keep their employees literally in the dark, like those offices right there. So, mi gente, I hope that I was able to help you, figure out why maybe you don't get those approvals for these cards and why you don't get the information from Capital One as quickly as with other branches or other issuers. And it's because it's a separate entity, guys. You have these at the top that are making the decisions, and the people that deal with the people down here don't know what's going on up there. So, as always, I thank you for watching. And more than anything else, I thank you for giving me the privilege of your time. Until next time, take care.